But some people, they are only looking for company to their misery. Okay, you're not each other's parents. You did not carry or give birth to your friends and vice versa. Hello, angels, baddies, and bitches. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Amber Akilla. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, and SoundCloud for playlists. You can listen to my podcast, Friend Crush with Amber Akilla. I hope everyone's doing well. Thank you for subscribing to the channel and leaving your comments and sending me messages about different videos that have had a positive impact on you. I appreciate all the feedback. It motivates me to keep creating. Don't know what direction this channel is going to go in, but thank you for joining the party. Welcome. Okay, today's video is things that I have learned about friendship. I just turned 31, so this is kind of like things I've learned about friendship in my 20s. I believe that a healthy friendship with yourself and with others is like the foundation for a healthy society. Often we are looking to dating advice, romance advice, but I feel like the foundation of a healthy romance is also friendship anyway. So without having self-love, how can you have love for others in your community? And how can you have love in a romantic relationship? That's why my podcast is called Friend Crush and not just Romantic Crush. And I think also for me, I talk a lot about how I grew up in a very physically isolated and culturally isolated place. I felt like I didn't really relate or have that much in common with a lot of people that I was around. So a lot of my late teens, early 20s, and my 20s in general was all about, self-discovery and meeting people that I felt had shared interests, shared values, shared experiences. And you really are the product of the people that you surround yourself with, for better or worse. And all these different experiences in friendship have taught me so much about myself and the world and human nature. And honestly, I think that a lot of my friend breakups have hit me harder than romantic breakups, especially between women. I feel like we can hold our friendships in very high regard. We can invest a lot emotionally into our friendships. We can feel seen in our friendships in ways that we don't necessarily feel seen in romantic relationships with men. Yeah, like the loss of a friend can be devastating and heartbreaking, in ways that I don't feel like we talk about that much. But yeah, let's get into today's video. Let me know what does and doesn't resonate with you, and also any other things that you've learned about friendship. Please share in the comments. Number one is that it's better to have no friends than to be friends with people that make you feel like shit. If you feel a part of you, your soul, your intuition, when you're around certain people, kind of like pinging as like, okay, I'm not comfortable with the way that they're speaking, with the way that they're acting. When you leave a situation with friends and you feel more depleted than you did when you entered that space, that is a sign that you and these people are maybe not compatible. And I had all different periods in my life where I felt like I had no choice but to be surrounded by certain people, because socializing and work has always been very intertwined for me, because being a DJ, working in nightlife, working in the creative industry, a lot of opportunities come from your social network, and a lot of friends and social connections come from your work as well. And I think it's inevitable that you will be around people that you don't necessarily get along with and you can't quite put your finger on it. So it's not a matter of, oh, I feel uncomfortable this one time, so I'm out and all these people are cancelled. It's just that if you are consistently in spaces where you don't feel like you're being seen or respected in the way that you are extending to others, let that give you pause, because you do need to create space in your life for more compatible relationships to enter. If you are constantly draining your energy being around people that you don't feel you are in true community with, that limits space and energy for you to be open to potential connections that are going to be more compatible, and you're just not even going to have the energy to clock when someone comes into your life and you're more compatible than with the people that you currently are friends with, but not friends with. Number 2 is you only really need like 3 close friends, and then everybody else is an acquaintance. And it's not that the 3 people that you're close with stay the same throughout any given period of time. Sometimes for these months of the year, I'm speaking to these 3 people the most. And then other times I'm speaking to these other 3 people the most. I have your tight inner circle, then your general inner circle, then your acquaintances, then strangers. And you can maintain friendly demeanor with people regardless of the category that they're in. But I think it's okay to concentrate your energy on a selected few, building deeper connections and relationships with those people. And then other people might just be a party friend, might just be someone you encounter through work, someone you encounter every now and then, or someone you encounter in certain contexts. It's not like everyone has to be your bestie. And I think that when I was going through a transition phase in my early 20s, I felt like every person that I suddenly related to, more than the friends that I had before, I had to give everyone the same amount of energy. But each person has their own sort of like social circle as well. Just because you share a social circle with someone doesn't mean that it perfectly overlaps. Your best friend might have other people in their life that you don't know, and vice versa. So I think just being mindful of how you divide your time and energy and your attention between different people is important, because then you're not going to be setting unrealistic expectations for people that in reality are just an acquaintance. You might be really friendly when you see each other, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's someone that you would call in an emergency, and vice versa. So don't get caught up in thinking that everybody needs to be your bestie and quantity is more important than quality. In fact, quality is so much more important than quality when it comes to connections and, feeling seen and supported by your friends. Number 3, drifting isn't always a bad thing. I think especially the transition between high school, university, and beginning work. These are periods of really big transition for a lot of people, and your relationships change a lot as people sort of start to focus on their self-actualization journey, or people start to split off in different directions. When you're in school or in university, these are much more structured environments, and a lot of relationships are created just by circumstance. When I think about my friends that I have from high school, I feel so grateful that I have people in my life that knew me at such a young age, and we've all grown and moved and lived in totally different directions. And if we met at a party now, we might never even be at the same party, like today. Yeah, there's like so many people that you just kind of lose contact with in these sort of different transition periods, and it's okay. I feel like you don't need to always confront a friend about the distance that is forming between you guys. If people's priorities just kind of shift, you can always let them know you're thinking of them, and I wouldn't take it personally if you and a friend are starting to drift, like maybe one of you has moved cities or both of you have moved cities. People's priority and the focus of their life changes in different stages. I think allowing space in relationships is important, and fate and destiny will bring you back together. Even just recently, I had a friend that I met many years ago, and I really valued our friendship, but in the last year or so, I haven't heard from her that much. And there, of course, were times where I was like, did I do something? I feel bad, or should I feel bad, or should I reach out? Or when I do reach out, she's not that responsive. And then just recently she messaged me on New Year's and was like, oh my God, Happy New Year, Amber, would love to see you. She's currently away. So she was like, I'll be back on this date. I said, okay, I'm going to be in my introverted era until this date. So let's do something in between then and the next time that I've got to travel. And she was like, okay, yeah, that was totally my mood. Like all last year, she was in her introverted era. You don't have to assume that just because you and a friend drift, it's something that you did. And if it is something that you did, then it's their responsibility to tell you. I've also had the more extreme version of drifting happen, where someone's kind of trying to give you the silent treatment or give you the cold shoulder, or trying to socially punish you for some problem that they have with me that's not being expressed. But how would I know that I did something? Because you've turned something that wasn't about you into something about you. You don't need to confront it, because it's their job to confront you. So I feel like letting things drift is important. I'm not going to chase after you if you're trying to punish me, and I'm not going to chase after you if that's just the natural direction of our friendship. If it is just the natural direction, we'll come back together if need be or not. And if this is a social punishment, then you need to reconcile with that yourself and with me, not me reconciling it with you if it's not being communicated. Number 4, your friends are not your therapists and you are not your friend's therapist, okay? You can be on either end of this dynamic. I think especially as you get into your late 20s and early 30s, that's a really important time for self-reflection, self-development, and maturing, basically. Like, it's not, I don't want to say normal because a lot of things are normalized that are like not healthy. So it's not healthy, in my opinion, to have to constantly default to the people around you to help you make decisions or to help you process your own inability to self-regulate. I think I mentioned in a TikTok that you can't save your friends from their bad decisions, especially from their bad decisions in dating. A lot of the times women will use their girlfriends as therapists and emotional dumping grounds when they're not getting their needs met emotionally in their romantic relationship. And that creates an unhealthy dynamic because your friends start to resent you, and then you're also not having to confront the fact that your emotional needs aren't being met in your romantic relationship. And if you are enabling your friend by being their therapist all the time, you're actually blocking them from lessons that they actually need to learn. You're delaying the process of learning for them. And that can be really tough because sometimes you're being emotionally manipulated into caring about someone's problems that aren't your problems. Sometimes you care a lot about your friend and their well-being and you can't stand to see them suffer. But at the end of the day, your friends aren't your therapists and you can't be their therapist. It doesn't mean that you can't be there for each other, that you can't vent to each other every now and then, but it cannot be like the only thing that you guys talk about is each other's problems. You know what I mean? Like, I talk about the 80-20 rule in previous videos. It applies here too. I want 80% of the time that I'm with my friends, us to be hot and having fun, slaying together, supporting each other, moving forward. And 20% of the time, of course, I'm going to be here to support you and listen to your problems and give you advice and give you perspective and vice versa. But it can't be that 80% of our friendship is just problems. Okay, there's an issue. One or both of us is not taking accountability in our own lives for our outcomes if all we have is negativity when we're together. And it's important to learn to take accountability for how you feel and learning to emotionally regulate. Everybody has problems, okay? And no one's problems are more important or less important than the other, and your problems are not other people's problems and vice versa. So I think that you have your own reality, your friend has their own reality, your friendship together is a third space. It is a third reality that you create together. So it should not be that my problems from my personal reality and your problems from your personal reality dominate this third space together. We're creating a third space that allows us to support each other in our pursuit of being hot and having fun, living authentically, etc., bringing all of this like personal baggage into a friendship, I think is not healthy. So, number 5, your friends are your cheerleaders and you are your friends' cheerleaders. You do not need to get invested in other people's life outcomes and you do not need to expect other people to get invested in your life outcomes. You cheer from the sidelines, they cheer for you from the sidelines, but they don't need to get involved and intervene, okay? You're not each other's parents. You did not carry or give birth to your friends and vice versa. So making sure that you're cheering people on and not, why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing that? Why aren't they listening to me? This is something that I'm constantly reconciling with, but I've definitely gotten better over the last few years. And I think especially making content has helped with that because I just share my point of view, share the things that I've learned. People that need to hear the message hear it and they run with it, and the people that don't need to hear it don't listen to it, and that's fine. But before, I used to get really invested in my friends' problems and my friends' journeys. I'd be like, you just have to do this, you just have to do that, blah blah blah, I've been through this. Like, I would try to get my friends to avoid the challenges and the pain that I experienced doing certain things that they now want to do, or understanding certain relationship dynamics. But at the end of the day, everybody just has to go through it, So the information that you're getting and what information that you're open to is going to change and is going to be different for each person. So if you find yourself in a therapist dynamic with your friends, consider becoming a therapist, or consider starting a podcast and running your mouth so that people that are actually ready for your message can hear it, and then you can just focus on being hot and having fun and cheering your friends on without feeling like you're somehow responsible for their life outcomes. And in the same way, I think it's important to observe which of your friends support you and cheer you on, and which friends are always quick to minimize or belittle your dreams for yourself, okay? The friend that's always got something to say about what you're wearing, or the types of people that you hang out with, or places that you go, or the goals that you have. Just be aware, okay? They don't have your best interest at heart. Even if what my friend wants to do seems delusional and crazy, if they're telling me that they want to do something, I'm just going to say, go for it. You know, like whether they do it or not is not up to me. But I think that everybody shares their dreams because they want to be encouraged, not because they want to be derailed or dismissed. So I think that being a cheerleader is important, and noticing who is clapping for you and who isn't is important too. Following on, you can't save your friend from their bad decisions. Just because you think that your friend can do better or be better doesn't mean that they think that. There's like a surface level conscious side of our mind that we engage with in our communication and like in our behavior with other people, and then there's this subconscious part that only we have access to. Only I have access to my subconscious mind, the same way that only you have access to your subconscious mind. So even if on the surface you're telling each other you only want to be hot and have fun, you're not entertaining bullshit, my propensity to entertain bullshit on a subconscious level and your propensity to entertain bullshit on a subconscious level could be completely different. And even if we're consciously saying we're not going to entertain bullshit, our definitions of those things are different. So what you end up entertaining that I might see as bullshit might not be bullshit for you, and vice versa. And that's why, like I said previously, don't get too invested in other people's outcomes. You cannot save other people from their bad decisions. Sometimes you just have to watch a car crash in slow motion. It does not do service to anyone if you know a car is going to crash for you to jump in the car and crash with it, okay? The best thing that you can do, unfortunately, is stay where you are and help clean up and do damage control after the crash. You know what I mean? Sometimes your friend is describing a situation to you and you're like, I know exactly how this is going to end. Don't do it, but they're going to do it anyway. Okay, so you just have to be like, okay, well, I'll be here if you need me after. And that's all you can really do. You can share your point of view and say, this isn't the best decision, I don't think, or I'm letting you know that it's probably going to end like this, but I understand that you just have to go through it. And if you need me, I'll be here. But I don't really want to hear about the ins and outs and the details of this bad decision making, because it's just going to further enable you. Number 7 is that it's better to have shared values than shared interests. And I think this is an ongoing process, because when I was younger and I didn't have a clear idea of who I was, I have my own values, even if I'm not aware of them the same as everybody else. But I think that you become clearer in what your values are and how they impact your decision making and the way that you form relationships just with life experience, okay? With life experience, you gain more awareness, hopefully, and you can be more intentional. And when I was younger and I didn't have a clear idea or conscious idea of my values, I was very much focused on superficial things that would connect me to other people. Oh, we like the same music. We like the same designers. We like the same TV shows. We like the same internet figures or whatever. And that can kind of be a reflection of values to a degree, but two people can like the exact same things and have totally different worldviews, totally different interpretation, totally different life paths. It's honestly shocked me sometimes the way that people that I thought I had a lot in common with on a superficial level, we have totally different values, totally different self-concepts, goals, worldviews, and sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. And there's been people who I feel like we don't have anything in common on a surface level, but we have a lot in common when it comes to our worldview and shared values. And it's much easier for us to support and cheer each other on because what we want for ourselves and for each other is more aligned, not just what we like, what entertains us on a surface level. And it's okay that that takes time, and it's okay that that can change. Sometimes you have different eras of your life, and the things that were important to you at one stage can change to something else, and it's only natural that some of your relationships will change as well. Number 8, just because someone wants to be your friend doesn't mean that you have to be theirs. If you are living a life of slay, you live in the pursuit and the will to slay, you are going to attract all kinds of people that want to be a part of that want to benefit from association with you. Even if on an objective level you don't feel like you're that successful, it's more about an energy and a disposition than it is about material things. So you will attract a lot of people, but that doesn't mean that you need to be friends with every single person that wants to be friends with you. And I think that this was really difficult for me in my early 20s because I was so desperate for community that I just assumed that our surface level shared interest was enough to build a foundation for a friendship, and I assumed that everyone approaching me to be my friend was by default going to have the same approach to friendship as me. But that's not always the case, okay? And it becomes less the case the more you self-actualize and the more you demonstrate the value that you add to the spaces that you enter and the relationships that you're in. There are going to be lots of people that come for you and want to be a part of that and want something from you. Not everybody is only looking to extract, but just keep in mind that there are some people that are only looking to extract and they have absolutely no concept of what they can actually provide in a friendship. They don't know what they're bringing to the table. They don't even know if they have a table. They've actually never thought about that. All they think about is what is on other people's table and how can I get a seat at it, or how can I grab a piece and run. So I always think about what I'm contributing to friendships, and I skewed a little too far into that without considering what it is I'm getting out of friendships. And now that I've gotten older and been through a number of different friendship breakups, that's become a lot clearer to me. Sometimes you can feel bad for rejecting people, but I've faced a lot of rejection in my life too. There's been situations that I've shot my shot for and been shot down, and that's made me who I am. I survived. So sometimes you have to be the villain in other people's story, but if they can't get over it, that's not your problem. Number 9 is be wary of people that you connect with when you're in a flop era. Also related to noticing how you feel when you're around certain people. Everybody's propensity for self-awareness or their desire to grow, their will to slay is actually different. And some people, believe it or not, are not interested in developing self-awareness or growing in an intentional way. They just seek outside forces to change their circumstances rather than how they themselves can change so that their outcomes and their circumstances change. This is going to be different for every person, but if you are someone that is looking to evolve, looking to develop self-awareness, looking to learn, looking to overcome challenges rather than be defined by them and live in a victim mindset, you are not going to be compatible with people that do those things, okay? And sometimes when you're in a flop era, you're in a low vibrational moment or low vibrational week, month, years, you are on the same energetic frequency as people that live in that state, and you can develop kind of like this toxic relationship without even realizing that it's toxic because both of you are acclimatized to where you're at. But if there is a part of you that wants to push forward, wants to elevate, wants to grow, wants to move out of this phase, if the other person is not on some subconscious and conscious level trying to do that too and putting in the work the way that you are, you will not be compatible. You can't bring everyone along with you, unfortunately. And sometimes even if you guys are consciously talking about how you want to do better, how you want to grow, only one of you is actually putting in the work to do that. And to me, again, with the cheerleader thing, it's like if my friend is down, I'm going to cheer them on to bring them back up. I'm not going to meet them in their misery. And if I'm down, I don't want my friends to come down and meet me in my misery. I want them to cheer me on so I can get out of it and get back to being hot and having fun, okay? But some people, they are only looking for company to their misery. They have no interest in cheering you on up. They have no interest in cheering themselves on up. They just are going to stay here, and it's going to be everybody else's fault but theirs, everybody else's responsibility but theirs. And sometimes you just have to reconcile with that. Like, if you want to do better and you want to elevate, sometimes you have to cut relationships that are essentially dead weight. It doesn't matter how much you encourage people on a conscious level, it might just not pass through into their subconscious and into their actions. Only they have access to their subconscious mind and what they ultimately tell themselves and how that informs their actions. Yeah, you can't climb into someone else's head and make them understand you, basically. And it's unfortunate, even when you really care about people, but that's kind of the reality. Number 10, how someone treats you is how they treat everybody. Sometimes you're friends with someone and they have like a separate social group or something, and they have this reputation for being a certain way that maybe you don't experience, and you feel like maybe your relationship with them is some kind of exception to the rule. Rarely is that the case. Okay, like, how people treat other people is how they will eventually treat you. And this isn't, a value judgment or a matter of what's good or bad. It's just what is compatible with you and what you're willing to tolerate. And just keep that in mind and navigate accordingly. If you're friends with someone who's constantly telling you the business of other people that they're friends with, it's only a matter of time until they start telling other people your business. Or that's already what's been happening and you just didn't realize. If you are friends with someone and you see that they consistently treat other people with suspicion, or they are always quick to blame other people that are quick to play victim in their other relationships, like, oh, somehow everyone else has done them wrong and they've never done anything wrong, one day they're going to flip that on you. I've been friends with people that I've enjoyed my time with them, but I noticed that whenever they talk about people that used to be in their lives, it's always an inconsequential thing they've held on to when it comes to the breakdown of their other friendships. They can't really paint a clear picture for what happened, whether it's something that they did or something that the other person did, almost always something the other person did. I kind of make a note like, okay, it's just a matter of time until you blame me for something and we can't be friends. I can give people very clear breakdowns on why I'm not friends with certain people anymore and not feel like a type of way about it. Obviously, I can be upset if someone I cared about isn't in my life anymore for reasons that are outside of my control. I don't necessarily have to blame anyone for that, and people that are always playing the blame game are one day going to blame you. Number 11, talking about someone more than you talk to them about certain issues in your friendship is either the beginning of a redefinition of how you see this person or the beginning of the end, basically. Like, if I can't resolve an issue in our friendship between the two of us, then we have bigger issues at stake, because it doesn't take 3 people to resolve a relationship between 2 people. You know what I mean? Like, why am I always talking to this third person about someone and not addressing the problems within the friendship or the issue that is within me with this person that's being projected onto this person? You know what I mean? So it's okay to like vent to other people every now and then, but if you find yourself consistently complaining about one person to another, take note of that, okay? Because it's not chic to be shit talking all the time, especially people that you're close with. I think that says a lot about you more than it does the people that you're around if you're the one that's constantly entertaining people whose company you don't enjoy. And it's your responsibility to change who you hang out with, not for the people that you hang out with to change. And that's also something that I reconciled with in my 20s. I was like, it's not their fault that they are that way, and it is my fault if I keep expecting them to act any differently when I've seen them consistently act in this way with no inclination of change occurring. You give people the benefit of the doubt, you see the patterns that they demonstrate, and then you respond accordingly. You need to become aware of your own patterns, your own insecurities, and be working on those things rather than expecting other people to come along and cure you of those ailments. If you don't have that space open in your mind to the fact that it's your responsibility, things that are your responsibility will not change. You know what I mean? And that's the same in other people. You can't invest in other people's problems and their outcomes if they aren't invested in them too. Number 12, if it's broken, let it break. I think this is kind of like the art of detachment. I invest into my friendships wholeheartedly. You know, like if I consider you a friend, I'll do whatever it takes to ensure that you live your best life and I can support you in that. And I would hope for the same in return. But I am not desperate for certain people to see me or respect me in the way that I want to be respected. Either we are compatible or we aren't. It's kind of that simple. And we can engage on the level that is compatible and then leave the rest. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to invest all of your friendship energy into just one person. That's why having, you know, a few people that you're close with that see different parts of you, can support different parts of you, rather than expecting one person to do all of that for you. Okay. You know, I think there's levels to every person and priorities, and you would hope that there are certain areas that your friends can meet you on and support you in, and then there's always going to be parts of you and them that maybe you can't be there for each other for, but doing your best is the most that you can ask for, okay? But yeah, it can be really hard when you're going through a friend breakup and someone that you just thought or assumed you were on the same wavelength as turns out to be your number one hater. See it as the universe protecting you and making space for new and more compatible relationships to enter your life. People are in your life for a reason, a season. We all want the season to be as long as possible, but that's not always the case. And I think like that's why I appreciate the friends that I have that I share values with. Even if we don't see each other for a long time, we can still connect, we can still communicate, we can still support each other. But often it's the friends that are too close and it's more your shared interests that have connected you, or a shared sort of like energetic field, especially if it's a negative one. Those are the relationships that kind of burn bright and then burn out really quickly. Finally, slay together, don't suffer together, okay? Support each other into the slay, but you don't want to be around people that just feed into your negative self-talk or your self-doubt. You know, you want people that help you, encourage you out of it. I'm not going to validate my friends' insecurities. I'm going to tell them they can overcome them no matter how ridiculous it is. I'm not going to say to my friend who's trying to lose weight, like, yeah, because you're fat. I'm going to say, go girl, live a better lifestyle, you know, live your best life. You deserve to feel confident in who you are, regardless of what size you are. I support you no matter what size you're at, you know, and I'm going to love you regardless. That's what a decent friend would do. And a shitty friend would be like, yeah, you've been looking on the fat side recently, whatever. So yeah, slay together, don't suffer together. Flop eras are inevitable, flop moments are inevitable, but it's the will to slay that connects you, not the will to be defined by a flop or the lack of will. You know what I mean? But we'll get more into slay economics at a later video. I already have a video on it on my TikTok, but I haven't done a YouTube version yet. So yeah, those are my thoughts on friendship. Let me know if there's anything that you want me to cover specifically on friendship, and I'll see if I have any thoughts on it. Share your own thoughts on friendship in the comments. Sending love and slay your way. I hope you are doing well. Drink lots of water. Tell your friends and family you love them. Go be a better person. Follow me on all the things. Love you lots, and I'll speak to you soon.